Well, we're protected by a great constitution, one of the best in the world, but the government and the state is not living up to it. They are clamping down on information, passing laws which are going to be detrimental to the search for truth and search for information. And we believe that they're misconstruing the Constitution. They think the Constitution means that they should have centralized power over everything. And in fact, the Constitution means just the opposite, that they should be as transparent and open as possible. So we're very, when I say we, I mean my colleagues and I as journalists are very worried about the regression that is taking place in South Africa in terms of the Constitution and in terms of freedom of information. Now, the really worrying thing is the attack by the President on the rulings of the Constitutional Court. And he wants to have a review of the powers of the Constitutional Court judges to take place. And that can only mean one thing, that he wants to reduce the powers of the Constitutional Court, which has overruled the government on a number of rather important and serious issues. And we think it's because the court has given those rulings that they now want to review them. But that's South Africa, and journalists are very robust and very vigorous in their criticism of the government and of these moves to try and prevent information from, or access to information by journalists and the public generally. Africa as a whole is in an awful mess. There are only, according to Freedom House, the New York-based monitor of press freedom, there are only 5 countries in Africa, and there are 53 of the 53 that in fact are classified as free. The rest are either partly free or not free. And South Africa was downgraded last year from free to partly free by Freedom House. So that supports what I've just been telling you. But you go over the border, you go into Botswana, and they have passed a law there which is going to have a very serious effects on the practice of journalism by journalists. It's called the Media Practitioners Act, and the journalists there are mounting a legal challenge to the act, to the legality of the act. So the journalists there are in good shape and trying to deal with this act, but it shows the way the government is leaning. And then of course across our border in Zimbabwe there's just a hopeless mess. That's a kind of a generalized picture of Africa, but it's quite, when you consider there are only 5 countries rated as free, you can imagine how it extends throughout a large chunk of Africa.